Hello guys, today we're going to talk about how we met. Boop, 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 boop. Stay tuned. Today we're going to talk about how we met. I met my husband in the year of 2017, and my sister wanted me to go out. She wanted me to go to the club with her for her birthday. At that time, I really wasn't feeling going to the club because, like I said before in my other video, I was on the border of coming out of the world. So I wasn't comfortable being at the club. So I had told her, I was like, nah, I don't want to go to the club. She's like, come on, Kiana, please come. Please, it's my birthday. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was like, okay, I'll go just to appease her. So she got all dressed, she all dialed up and stuff. And me, I got on jeans and little baby doll shoes. And I had my hair braided. I wasn't even made up. I was looking toe up from the floor up, if you ask me.
Okay, and for me, it's crazy because it was almost the same situation. It was my birthday, which I share the same birthday as her sister. So it was the 19th of May, actually, in 2017. I had a buddy that I was living with at the time. It was a female, and yeah, I was pretty much into the world at this point. I was turned off with the world, but I was still into the world. So I was roommating with a homosexual woman that was a very close friend at the time, and she had invited me to go out. Now it was my birthday weekend, so I kind of felt like I was obligated to go. So didn't really want to, but I went. Kind of got drug out in a sense. See, but it's crazy how God works, because had I not been dragged out that night, and had there not been that club there, he uses things to make his plans work. That's how good God is, because it ain't like he wanted me to be in that club. It ain't like he wanted his children in that club, but he wanted us to meet, and he made it happen. Because when I first seen her, it was like everything stopped.
Now, a year before this time in 2017, so I'm gonna say 2016, I was driving on the road and this lady was like, pull over. And I'm like, pull over? What'd I do? Did I hit her car? Whatever. So I pulled over. She was like, God want me to let you know that whatever you've been praying about is gonna happen this year. So I'm like, I don't even remember what I prayed about, okay, because I pray about everything. So I was like, okay. She said, I don't know if it's a new house, I don't know if it's a husband, but whatever, you getting it this year. Now, let's speed back to 2017. So like I said, my sister was trying to get me to go out, and I didn't want to go out. So I'm out, uncomfortable, I'm not dressed up, I'm at the club, I'm looking really, really plain, and I'm just driving on the way there. She all getting hype in the club. I mean not in the club, in the car. And she all doing like, yeah. So like, it's my birthday. Get geeked up with me, geeked up. And I'm like,
that's kind of how it was. Yeah, on the way there, I wasn't too excited. Geeked. Yeah.
Wasn't feeling it at all. So.
And it was my birthday. So I wasn't excited as well. I was already at a point where I was like, okay, about 12:30 we gonna have to leave. Now I come here to make you happy. I come out just to say I went out for my birthday. But at 12:30 I want to be up out of here. That was my intentions. That's not what happened, but that was my intentions.
Yeah, so I'm in the club now, and I'm walking around, I'm looking around, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like people no more. Everybody drunk. I'm not drinking. Not because I didn't know what God, laws and commandments were. It was just that I didn't feel like it. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not feeling myself. And I'm just like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Hurry up. Let's have fun. Dance all you want. I'm about to be ready to march out as soon as it's time to go.
Yeah, so I'm in there, complete opposite. I didn't want to go out. So my fix when I got in there was just drink as much as possible and then you'll be home soon, you know? So that's what I did. I was drinking. into the word, as I said. And but like I said, I was walking through the club. I knew a lot of people in there, so I'm speaking, not even remembering 2 people ago who I just said hi to. That's just how out of it I was.
Intoxicated.
Under the influence, yes.
Hi.
So yeah, and this is how I knew that it was God, like, trying to nudge me. Like, I'm sure he wasn't happy with me at the time, but this was my time. So I seen Kenyatta for the first time, and everything stopped. I was just like, I kind of felt sober again for a second. And then I kind of snapped myself out of it because, like I said, I wasn't really in the mood. I didn't really want to meet anyone new. It was just a night that I was just going to go out and then go back home. But so I told myself, okay, very, very pretty lady, but let's move on. I see her again, maybe I'll think about saying something to her. And that was it for when I first saw her.
Now, in my interpretation, I see this guy walks past me and he like looked back at me, and
Double
it's
take.
like, so our eyes kind of locked with each other, and I'm looking, and it looks like everybody just stopped in the club. Like the music's cut off, a big light beamed on him, and everybody just moved out his way so I could just zoom in on him. And I'm looking up like, what he looking at me for? And then next thing I know, everything went back to normal.
Okay, so the second encounter, me and my buddies are still, it was just her at the time. I didn't even go with my other friend that we usually went with, but we're walking around. I'm dancing. Like I said, I'm not remembering who I'm dancing with, in between things. So I'm just out of it again. And I come to the other dance floor, and sure enough, there she is again. So I stopped, I looked at her again, and I turned to my buddy and I'm like, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but that girl is very pretty to me. What do you think? And she's like, yeah, she's cute, yeah. So yeah, I wasn't necessarily looking for her to be like, oh my God, she's drop dead gorgeous like I was. I just wanted her approval because, like I said, I was kind of out of it, and things, you tend to make mistakes when you're out of it. So I just wanted to double check. But when she did that, it was kind of like the green, like, okay, I know she's pretty. And I was like, I want to say something, but we're going to wait one more time. If I see her again, I'm going to say something to her. And that's what I told my buddy. And she's like, okay.
So at that moment, my interpretation was, I seen him again. So he walked past me and he looked at me. And this time we locked eyes for like 10 seconds. And I'm like, okay, this guy is just definitely checking me out. So I asked my sister, I say, hey, do you see this guy here? And she was like, what? Now she's still in the middle of dancing, like, girl, bye. I'm dancing with him right now. And I'm like, do you see him right there? She like, yeah. And I'm like, is he looking at me? She like, yeah, he is looking at you. I was like, okay, I'm not tripping. So at that point, we was still dancing. But I was just standing by her while she danced.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of like getting to a point where I'm like, okay, it's getting close to that 12:30 mark. It's almost time to go. I'm walking through the club and there she is again. So I stopped. I said, you know what? I'm doing it. I said, I'm going to go talk to her. Before I could even turn to start walking towards her, my buddy turns and start going towards her first. Why? I don't know. But I followed because I didn't want her to say anything crazy to mess up my chances with this beautiful woman. So I followed her. And she's doing the typical, hey, my friend thinks you're cute. He wants to see what's up with you and all this stuff. And of course, like the woman I kind of assumed that she was going to be, she's like, well, why don't he say something? And so I cut in right away and I was just like, hey, my name is Darian. What's your name? The basics. Asked her for a dance. Or I asked her why she wasn't dancing. And she's like, I'm just here with my sister. She showed me her sister, and her sister's dancing in the corner with somebody. And I'm like, okay, well, why aren't you dancing? Yeah, I just don't feel like it. So I'm like, okay, well, you should give me your number. Maybe we can, become friends, and I wasn't to force my plans to be her friend, but I wanted to get her number just in case we didn't hit it off here. Maybe we could go out to eat, go to a lunch or something later on. Who knows? So I got her number. But first, she said no. She said that my sister, she'd be more than willing to give you her number. And I looked at her sister. Now, off rip, I'm already like, okay, I want what I want. That's how I am. I want what I want. So yeah, I'm like, I want what I want. But so I entertained her little theory. So I just gave her a look, and I'm like, yeah, not really interested in your sister. I'm interested in you. And I think that kind of got her right there. It sparked her interest, and she was just like, okay, well, I'll give you my number.
So, my interpretation, me and my sister are standing over in the crowd again, and once again, I see him. And all of a sudden, I had put my head down for a minute because, I don't know, like I said, I wasn't feeling it. And then when I looked up, the girl that he was with came up to me and was like, yeah, so my boy think you cute, and he want to know if he can get your number. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, where he at? Tell him to come tell me that. She like, oh, he right there. And then here comes Darian. So Darian smiling.
So yeah, she was completely wrong. So basically what it was is, I had already asked God to send me a woman that he thought was good for me, because I wasn't good at picking women. I'm just gonna be honest. I was kind of horrible. They never ended right. Never lasted, obviously. So I had gave up on picking women for myself. I wanted God to lead me to who he thought that would be good for me. So after we left the club and I was able to sleep off my drinks from the night before, I had remembered that I had got a couple numbers that night, but there was one in particular that I had to find. And all I remember was these box braids, mid-range. So all I could remember was these box braids, mid-range, pretty brown skin, and a very beautiful smile. So I'm like, that picture kept popping into my head. Those braids, skin, smile. And I'm not gonna lie, I had texted maybe one or two girls before I came to her actual number, because I hadn't saved them under names. So, and like I had the two girls send me pictures, and I'm like, that's... So I had texted two girls before I had actually came across her number, and I had them send me pictures, and I was like, yeah, this isn't who I was talking about, and this isn't who I was looking for. But the third one, she did send me a picture, and I was like, wow, very pretty. But it wasn't the box braids. She had sent me a previous picture that she took before that, and I was like, okay, she's very, very pretty, and I'm interested, but I'm just not sure if this is the one that I'm looking for. The smile was still there, it was a very pretty smile, but I was expecting to see the box braids. So, at that time, I was like, when she sent me the picture, I was like,
You didn't see the box braids until like the first time
we actually linked up.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay. So I was interested in this woman. I'm like, I don't know if this is the woman or not, but I'm interested. She just sent me this picture. I'm attracted.
Cut. So we gonna cut this. This young man ain't text me until a month later. He ain't text me 2 months later. You gonna try to make it seem like you text me the next day.
Oh, it wasn't
the
that.
month later. So all I get is a picture, and I'm like, who is this? And he was trying to talk to me as I met him offline, because I was online trying to do some online dating. Crazy. Yeah, I was nuts. So I was trying to do that because I wanted to get to know a person first, not thinking they can lie.
Well, she gave me the idea. I only agreed with you when you asked me was I on a site, because I didn't know where I met you, but I didn't want to stop talking to you. So I was like, oh, maybe it was off the chat site. Whatever it takes, right?
That's what he said. That's it. That's where I met you off the site. So I'm like, I don't remember this guy, because I had a good memory. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So we started texting each other like every single day. Yeah, we was texting each other every hour, and I'm like, okay, he cool. So I asked him, I said, how old are you?
At that time, I was 27. I was 27.
And I'm 7 years older than him. But y'all wouldn't notice that because, I'm cute and everything. So anyway.
Beautiful.
So when he told me his age, I was like, I can't do nothing with you.
I had other plans. So I'm like, okay, well, how old are you? Out of respect, how old are you?
How old was that? You say you were 27?
Yeah, so I think you were either 31 or 32.
I was 32.
Yeah, so when she told me, she texted me back the age, and I just sent hard eyes because, of course, I'm not looking at the age. It's not that big of a gap for me to be like, okay, maybe I should. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. You're a beautiful young lady. So I was like, yeah, she's a beautiful lady. Regardless of the little difference in our ages, I wanted to pursue her. So I kept at it.
So I was actually scared to go forward because I'm like, I dated somebody else that was young and I wanted something older. But my thing is, I don't like older men. I know, yeah. So anyway, we just kept texting each other and we decided to link up one time. Now, I didn't want to. I definitely did not want to link up with him because I'm like, he could be crazy.
It was out of the blue.
Yeah, it was just crazy. So I was driving one day to drop my daughter off to this little party that was going on. One of my friends, one of my friends was throwing in Southfield. So I was dropping her off, and he had called me and was like, "Well, what you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm dropping my daughter off to a party." So he was like, "Party? Why you ain't invite me?" And I was like, "I'm not really staying. I'm just dropping her off." He was like, "Well, I want to see you." And I'm like, "No."
I thought she was being a little just stubborn at the time, so I'm like, I can break this down. I'm like, look, I want to see you. You not too far away. You going to this little party. Why don't I pull up? Eventually, I broke her down, and she was like, okay.
But I was, I'm homeless or something. I'm like, I'm not dressed. I'm dropping my daughter off. I'm going home, being my home by myself in the quiet. He like, no, I want to see you. So all it was, he just wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy and cross-eyed and missing 2 teeth in the front. So I said, okay, I can't have him thinking that I'm hiding something and I'm actually ugly, texting each other, and we starting to like each other. So I was like, okay. So I gave him the address, and I just sat and waited patiently for him to come, and he came.
And I wasn't really late or nothing like that, so she's talking about waiting patiently. I came right away. I got dressed. I was in the mirror. I was asking my buddy that I was staying with at the time. I'm like, how do I look? It's good little outfit. It's not doing too much. It was like, I didn't want to come out like I was trying to be all flashy, and I didn't want to come out like I was not doing enough. So I'm like, how is this? And she was like, you're smooth. I'm like, okay. So I drove my little self to Southfield. Okay. A little excited, butterflies in the stomach. I'm like, please don't be catfish. Don't let this lady catfish me. So I pulls up in the parking lot, and she doesn't even know this. I waited in the parking lot for like 2-3 minutes before I let her know that I was there, because I wanted to scope the area. I wasn't familiar with the area. I wasn't familiar with the apartment complex that we were at. And that's just the type of person I am. I like to make sure my surroundings is okay before I kind of loosen up a little bit. So I finally texted her, and she came out. You want to tell us that?
And I came out, and he was smiling from ear to ear, and I think you asked me for a hug. Mm-hmm. I was so nervous. I'm like, I was so terrified because, like I said, I wasn't dressed up, and I was feeling kind of crazy, crunchy. So yeah, I walked over there to him, and he was just looking at me, and he was smiling, and I gave him a hug, and I walked him up into the apartment in the upstairs area, and we went into her house, and we was just chilling, and we was just talking for a minute.
Now, first, let me just tell you, I was so excited when I first saw her. So this is probably where she's getting the smile from ear to ear. I was like, oh my gosh, she's still pretty. She's pretty as the picture. Like, this is what
you didn't even know that was me.
And
though.
I saw the box braids. She had the box braids. So I'm like, this is the one that I was looking for anyway. So it's like a win-win. So like that's where I was like so happy. I'm like, okay, now I'm just very excited just to sit and chit chat and make sure that aspect of the situation is okay. And that's what we did. We sat and talked for, I gotta say, it was at least 2 to 3 hours of just straight talking, just to one another. Like, yeah, so there was a whole party going on, food being served, people trying, like, guys trying to ask, hey man, you want a plate? You want? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm having a conversation. They asking her, you want something to eat, girl? Come up here, talk to me. Nope, she's minding her own business, talking to me the whole night. I met her daughter that night for the first time, and you know, it's like her daughter was like, let me. It was almost like her daughter's like, hi, I'm going back in the room, let y'all finish talking. But it was a great night. Like, everything was accomplished that was supposed to be accomplished. I wanted to make sure she was a good person when I spoke with her, and not just through text, because we all know how that can be, you know, misconstrued sometimes.
So my initial thought of him when I saw him in like daylight, it was almost nightlight, it was like twilight, I was like, he's beautiful. That was my first thing I said. I was like, he's beautiful. And his teeth, man, that was like the main thing that brought me close to, like, well, that made me attracted to him. You know how you have certain features that you like us to one. It was his teeth. It was the smile for me. So we talked all night, and I was trying to get myself comfortable with him. I was becoming comfortable anyway through our texts, because we was getting to know each other through text. But in person, it kind of sealed the deal. And the next day, I was getting ready to go to Cedar Point. So I woke up to a text from him saying, hi, cutie. Right? Good morning, cutie.
That was like an everyday morning thing. So once I went home, I was just like, man, I can't keep this girl off my mind. This is a little unreal. At the time, I wasn't even putting together the fact that God was doing this. I was just like, wow, this is
We didn't mention one thing.
What's that?
When we first started texting each other, you told me that I was the woman you was gonna marry. Remember that?
I did. I told her.
You told me that. And I was like,
it got deep too. It got deep. Like, at one point, I was just telling her, I humbled myself, and I was telling her like all the flaws that I thought I had, all the little issues that I've had in past relationships.
Not all of them.
Some of them. The ones that I thought she should know at the time. I was telling her, and I was, letting her, I was explaining to her what I had came from, so she, would have an idea of what she was dealing with. It had just comforted me in a way that I hadn't experienced before. It almost felt motherly in a sense, but it wasn't my mom. It was like, whoa. She told me, she was just like, I know what you need. You need a strong woman, a woman that has her stuff together with a good head on her shoulders, because she was just explaining to me, there are immature girls out here, and when you're young, you tend to make mistakes. We had this long talk, and I was just like, I want to marry this girl. Like, this seemed like the girl I'm going to marry. So, me being how I was at the time, I told her how I was feeling. I'm like, I'm going to marry you. You're going to be my wife. My future wife. I think that's what I said. I said, my future wife. And she was like, oh, future wife? Yeah. Little did she know that my plan was going to work out, because it wasn't just my plan. It was God's plan, and ain't nobody stopping that. See this? So, like, yeah, the text just continued. We actually started having conversations, and that was something that I was never used to. I wasn't a huge phone talker. I was more of a texter. And she said the same thing. Like, she wasn't necessarily a talker on the phone. She didn't talk on the phone that much.
No, I said I like text. I don't like texting. I like to hear your voice. Remember? And that's when you was like, oh, okay. So you started calling me. Remember?
Yeah, you took me out of my element a little bit.
Yeah. And we used to stay on the phone for hours. Until he fell asleep. He would go to sleep snoring, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna hang up. And he'll call me back like, you hung up? I'm up. And be asleep in 2 more seconds. I was just like, you know what? I told my daughter, I was like, when he fall asleep, can you watch him? And my daughter Carly, she would be like, I'm watching Darian, he's sleeping again.
Around the time that I started falling asleep, that was like a different comfort level. We had gotten to a different comfort level, because I wouldn't have did that had I freshly started off talking to her. But we had been texting and talking so much that I felt comfortable with her. We had shared so much that I was like, I'm sleepy. I don't want to get off the phone with her. Good night. And I would just fall asleep, and then I would just wake up. Either she would still be there, or I hear the dial tone or something, or the phone would just be blank, or the phone would just be dead because we've been talking on it, and I forgot to plug it up before I fell asleep. But I would charge the phone back up, or I would go right back in the phone and call her back. Like, why did you hang up? Like, I wasn't just snoring, but I was like, why did you hang up? And she's like, well, you were asleep, and I was about to get ready to go to sleep too. Okay, we're about to go to sleep together. So we would fall asleep on the phone together, and then the dates started coming every single weekend.
Saturday.
Every weekend. We did not miss a beat. And we didn't like it. Like, well, I know I didn't like it. And anytime that we missed, either she would be like calling me or texting me like, you know, and the words would cross like, oh, I'm so sad I didn't get to see you this weekend. Next weekend it's going to be even better. You know, so it was like we was growing to the point where we didn't like to be apart. And so out of nowhere, I was just like, hey, you know, we hang out every single weekend. We do this 30-minute drive to each other's house every weekend.
That was a year later.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a year of courtship.
Just courting.
No
just dates.
Sex.
No sex. Barely any kisses.
Yeah,
just, you know,
I was like, if he likes me, like he said he likes me, he gonna respect me.
Mm-hmm.
I demanded that. I was like, no sex.
Mm-hmm.
1 year.
It was tough. You know, having a good time, you know, just talking, and
we were never alone.
Yeah, we had genuine fun. We
was
hung out with people too, and you know, it kept the spark so that the physical, it didn't have to be introduced at that time. We were learning one another, making sure we was good before anything else conspired from that relationship, and that's what we did. So we waited a full year, and things got rocky. We had stopped talking for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was going through a rough patch, and you know, I of course I didn't want her to know how you know, my little rough situations that I was going through, because at this time I'm trying to impress this woman. I'm trying to make her see that I'm the one for her. I don't want her to see my downfalls. All I want her to see was my positive. So
and during that time, I was like conversating with another person on the phone, because me and him had stopped talking for like 6 months. And I had started talking to this guy, whatever, and we were talking every single day as well. And he was, you know, telling me that he wanted to be with me too. So some kind of way, my birthday came up. No, let me change that. Some kind of way, me and him got back together again. We started talking again. I had a birthday party coming up, and I had invited him to my birthday party, the guy that I was talking to every single day. And my sister reached out and called him. Well, what she do? She inboxed him on Facebook.
I still say to this day, if it wasn't for your sister, I don't know if we would have rekindled, because at the time I did see, like, we were still Facebook friends, and I saw you were at your birthday party and you was all done up. I was feeling kind of some type of way, because I'm like, she looking a little too good. I didn't want her looking good if she wasn't with me. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was feeling some type of way about that. So I was a little upset. Her sister had reached out on Facebook and was like, hey, can you not know about this? But I want to invite you to this birthday party she's throwing. I'm like, at the time, I'm like, you know, I was in the zone to where I was like, okay, she don't invite me. I'm not about to just pop up at her party. And then, you know, I just felt like that wasn't how I was going to introduce myself back into the situation, by popping up and surprising her at a party that I wasn't invited to. So I didn't go. But yeah,
I didn't know that was the reason you didn't come.
So I didn't go. But after that, we did like start back communicating here and there, and it built back up. And then
it was every weekend again.
Got back to every weekend.
Yeah.
But the guy still wasn't out of the picture.
No, that was out of the picture.
I had to make sure that was gone. He wasn't gone. They probably wasn't talking every day no more.
No.
But I had to make sure it was gone.
Yeah, so the guy ended up, first of all, I can tell you guys, the guy was out of town. He was like in Carolina or somewhere, North Carolina. And then Darian comes back around. And me and Darian, we be on the phone all the time. So our conversations got shorter. Then me and him start going back out on the weekend. So, I mean, when am I going to speak to you? And then the guy was like, I'm going to move back to Detroit. And I'm like, ooh, sounds kind of sticky right there. Because I think you should stay where you at. But I didn't say nothing. I was like, okay. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. He was going to move back up here, but I was thinking like, nah, you shouldn't move back up here. But I didn't tell him. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. But when Darian came, he shut it down. He shut everything down. So one weekend we went on a date. I told him how I felt about him, and we had our little heart to heart. And next thing I know, it was back on again every weekend. Mm-hmm.
I remember that talk because I remember you pulling up to my apartment. I was looking at you out the window, walking in like I always do. And I was just like, I know I'm going to have to answer some questions today. And when she came in, she was ready.
I was ready.
What you been doing?
Locked and loaded.
Why you in? I'm like, oh, God.
Because his ex was still in the picture.
Not really.
Really?
I was at a point where I didn't want to lose my daughter. So I had to bend on everything. A lot of the times women don't understand what men go through with having a baby out of wedlock and then, having a baby mama in a sense. It's tough because you have to bend and be certain ways because you don't want to lose time with your kid because that's the first thing that they do. They take away time from you. They want to hit you where it hurt. And that's where she knew it hurt because I love my kids to death. So I had to bend.
One kid at that time.
Right, but now it's a plethora. But yeah, so I had to bend and
now it's kid kingdom up in this house.
I wasn't taking into consideration that, this is gonna be the one that I spend the rest of my life with. We weren't married at the time, so I was kind of more so trying to make sure my kid was gonna be in my life, and I didn't want to conflict the two. So it was tough at the time. I did not by any way want my daughter's mother anymore. Yeah, I just wanted my daughter. So yeah, it got a little, it was a little rocky at one point, but we started back again, and it was like we started right where we left off. Like we didn't skip a beat. And one of those days, I was just like, you know what? I'm tired of spending all this money on gas. I'm tired of being away from her. I was like, I hit her up one day, like, hey, what would you think about a test trial? Like, we stay together for a little while and, maybe a week or two and see how that works out.
Now, that's something no single person should do. They should get married first.
You're right.
Don't listen to the world when they say, oh, test it out and see. No. Mm-hmm. Because when you get married, it's going to be like you start all over, meeting that person all over again anyway.
Yeah. That was the story of how we met and how everything came together and, fell into its place.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. This was...
no matter how bad you get on my nerves, huh?
Okay.
No matter how. We're on the same page.
No matter how. I love my wife to death. Yeah, so I love my wife. I love our kids. I love our marriage. And I love our covenant with our God and our Father. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
Same here. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. It was pretty fun going back down memory lane.
Hopefully this resonates with some people, and hopefully this gives you an idea of, maybe how you want to go about your next relationship if you aren't, in a relationship. Maybe this will help you out and, give you kind of an idea of coming from, regular people and Christians trying to do things the right way.
Yeah. And leave sex out of it. It just clouds your judgment.
It does.
And you can do it. Mm-hmm. Stay around people, put God first, and you'll have a beautiful marriage just as ours. So
we love you, and we thank you for tuning in, and hopefully I got something out of it. Y'all have a good